Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the New Africa August Black Love Matter panel.
I'm Hasana.
I'm Uswa.
We're Haswaa, and we're YouTubers. You can find us at Haswaa at YouTube. You can find us at Haswaa Style on Instagram and at Haswaa on Facebook.
So we're just going to get right into it and have all the panelists introduce themselves, how long they've been married, and everything like that. So whoever wants to start can start.
I'm gonna go last because
Okay, so
we'll go ahead.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. Khalid and I, Naimah Muhammad and Khalid Sabree, and we've been married for 23 years. We got married when I was 26. He was
27.
27. And we have 3 children. 17. Yeah, those are 2 of them. 17, 12, and 20. So
we're from New York.
Yes.
Anyone else?
All right. Peace, everyone. My name is Nashid Muhammad. My wife,
Naadiya Muhammad.
All right, and we've been married for 10 years now. We got married when I was 20. My wife was 19. We have 3 kids together, or 3 kids, and their ages are 7, 3, and almost 2 months. And we're excited and honored to be here. We're excited to dig into this conversation about marriage and family. Peace to everyone.
all right. Well, my name is Shareef Abdul-Malik. This is my wife Zahrah Bashir. We've been married for going on 11 years in November. We got 3 children. We got our son Khalid, he's 7. Daughter Haswaa, she's 3, and then the young baby that you see right here in the camera, she's 4 months. Yeah. So yeah. Oh wait, was that it? Like, was that?
Yeah. So we're just gonna.
Oh, what age you got married?
Oh yeah.
When did we get married? That was.
What age?
Oh, what age? Yeah, we both were 17. Yeah. She had just turned 17. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna dive right into the questions to get the ball rolling. So the first one is, when did you feel like it was time to get married, or when did you feel like you wanted to get married to your partner? So anybody could go.
For me, this is Khalid. For me, I was 13 years old, and I was in the Nashid, the Maghrib Shabazz Nashid. I was 13, and my wife, she was 12, and she just came from Hajj. They had her in front of the Masjid, and for some reason, I said I wanted to marry her to myself. I was 13. I had no money. Of course, I was like a kid, but they had her in front of the Masjid, and they were just telling us she went to Hajj. She was the only young person there. And it was just, obviously I was attracted to her. But I was 13 years old. That's the first time I thought about marrying someone, specifically her, my wife. And it was that 14 years later, I married her. So it's all about, I guess, having a good intention. But what about you?
Yeah.
For me, I think when you are raised, you have to follow like the educational protocol. So you finish school, then you get married. So I finished school, and I was like, so I want to get married. But I was but when I think about it, I always tell Khalid, like, around after high school, if I didn't really have to go through all those routes, I think I would have gotten married right out of high school. How we would have been as people, I don't know. But, like in my mind, I would have wanted to get married out of high school. But yeah, I got married, when we were 26, so.
Yeah, I was 27.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So for me, for my wife and I, something similar to what Khalid was saying, the intentions. My senior year of high school at WD Muhammad High in Atlanta, Georgia. I remember vividly. Actually, I was having a conversation with Shareef, and it was early on in our talk in our courting process, and I was like, man, I think I should go talk to her father and just go tell her exactly how I feel, my intentions. You know what I mean? And I didn't like at this point we was talking, but we wasn't talking like that. Like I don't think we didn't have the conversation like, yeah, like I'm gonna go tell her. But I just felt the urge to I just really wanted it to go right. You know what I mean? I just wanted the blessing on it. So I said, well, I'm gonna go talk. It was at a game, you know what I mean? I was playing the game, so I felt good. So I was like, I'm gonna do it, you know? And then I went to her father and I introduced myself, and I told him my intentions with his daughter. And I remember because Naadiya came out shortly afterwards because she played basketball too. And she was coming out. When she came out, she seen me just with her father, and she don't know what's going on, right? Because I ain't tell her nothing. And so yeah, and so that's how it really started. Just really setting that intention, just setting that groundwork at an early age, at an early stage, and it just went from there. And I really felt like that was the right footing on putting us on the right track.
Yeah, I remember that day. For me, that was, I was shook. I was not expecting that. I saw him talk to my father. I was like, what is going on? Like, we had just started talking. So, I mean, it impressed me. I was like, okay, wow, like, he's serious. So it was shortly after that, we began talking. And like, after that, you know, we had like our parents, you know, I feel like we went, you know, that direction of, you know, having our parents blessing and like just being really open about, you know, what our intentions were. And from there, you know, we had support, and we were, you know, inseparable from there. So we kind of knew, and we, you know, we went the process, and we, you know, courted for a while. And then I think after he graduated, in my senior year, you know, it was like, all right, like after this, you know, we did a long distance thing for a little while. And we were like, all right, if we can make it past this year, we're gonna get married the following year. And then, you know, after that year, it was, you know, some challenges, but we made it. And, you know, we were like, all right, we started planning a wedding. So
Nice.
Well, I guess it was very similar for us, right? We had Zahrah was 14 when she first came to the school that we were at, WD Muhammad High School in Atlanta. I was 15, and I remember like, you know, seeing her come through the door, and I remember telling everybody that was around me at that time, I was like, look, I'm gonna marry her. I remember I claimed that one, right? Just in case anybody else was thinking anything, you know.
yeah,
I just wanted to claim it, you know. And, you know, I would say it wasn't too long after, you know, maybe like a few months after, I think I actually, you know, approached her and we started talking. And then I think that very next year, I think I was 16, maybe I had just turned 16, yeah. And then her father just happened to be in town. So, you know, by that time I already knew. I was like, man, yeah, I definitely want to marry her. You know, I was just on that page. And, you know, and I kind of had quite a few things going for me at that time too. You know, I already had a business. Some things was kind of working. Already had enough, you know, had my accounts in order. So when I saw her father, you know, I just went directly to him and just, you know, just told him what my intentions were. And I remember it vividly because, you know, when I approached him, you know, I was just like, you know, I'm interested in your daughter. And I just started, you know, just going into that direction. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, hey, what's your name? You know, I was like, oh, wait, my bad. Like, I didn't give you my name. So I had to go back and like tell him my name. And then when I told him my name, he was like, okay. You know, he knew my father. They had made Hajj together. As you mentioned, you know, your wife made Hajj. So they, her father and my father made Hajj the same year. And, you know, he immediately noticed that I, you know, favored my father, looked like my father. We already had conversations about, our children being in Atlanta. So when I approached him, it was really good news, because her father, my father already had a relationship, and I didn't know that. I didn't know her father and my father even knew each other. So that was amazing. That was like a sign for me back then. I was like, all right, yeah, it's solid.
It's on.
It's done.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's how I remember it.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. I think we always tell people like we met very young. We met in 10th grade at the school. We were going to the same high school, and we ended up getting married in 12th grade. But it was never it was more so that we once we met each other, it was kind of clear to us that like, okay, this is a person that we would want to marry. Like, we weren't exactly looking for a husband, looking for a wife, at such a young age. But when we met each other, it was clear that we saw in each other a husband, we saw in each other a wife. And then we started to kind of move in that direction. Like, okay, like, this is a good fit. Like I think we weren't, that was pretty much, that's how that happened. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was looking though. Like, I felt like I was out there.
The guys are always looking. That's how we are, bro.
I wasn't looking for a husband. But I think, maybe it's a little bit different for men, maybe.
Yes.
He was a little bit more clear about that. I was ready to receive that, but I was not searching for that.
So since you guys did get married at such a young age, during that time, people are usually, in that boyfriend or girlfriend kind of mindset. So why did you choose marriage over the social norm of boyfriend and girlfriend? Shareef and Zahrah.
So we to answer the question, so like I was saying, we met very young, but because of the tradition, the faith tradition and the way of life that we come from, we we were raised to always look towards marriage. There's no with us being Muslim, in the religion of Islam, like there's no space, there's no identity of a boyfriend and a girlfriend. So when we found that we were attracted to each other and we saw, certain traits in each other, it was automatically, we were thinking like, okay, maybe a husband, maybe a wife, right? And that's the intention that we had when we started to talk. Just kind of see like, okay, is this person a good fit? Like, can I see this person as a husband? And then, by extension, father my children, so that for us, it was definitely by way of our tradition and how we were raised. Like that's the only option that we have, people, realistically, people do what they want to do. But for us, we were committed and are committed to our way of life. So we were only looking for, a relationship with the intention of marriage.
Okay, so this
for me, I'm sorry, I just want to answer that question. For me, since it took a long time for me to marry, from knowing my wife at 13 and waiting till we're like 24, 25, dealing with the whole boyfriend and girlfriend thing was very difficult, because that's what everyone was doing. Even Muslims were doing that, unfortunately, that we grew up with. And it was you were really ostracized in a sense if you were doing in the environment that we were in. If you tried to stick with the dictates of our religion of Islam, like there is no that understanding that because you're sexually attracted to each other, the only thing coming out of that is marriage. So it was difficult for me for a long time, because I had to almost navigate away from friends and people who weren't having sexual relationships with each other and weren't planning on getting married. So I had to like navigate through that. And it was good that my brothers and sisters weren't really doing all that either when we were growing up. So that really helped. And my mom was very strict with that in our house. We couldn't bring boyfriends and girlfriends in our house. So, but it was still difficult socially because you were kind of ostracized, even with other Muslims and with non-Muslims, quote unquote. So it was difficult for socially, because that's what all the men were doing. Everyone had a girlfriend. Everybody, it was like, that's why they dressed up. That's why they went out, so it was difficult from before getting married. What about you?
For me, I don't know. I think that I'm gonna speak for myself, but sometimes women, we have a certain vision. I had a certain vision in my head of what I wanted, and I wasn't accepting anything else that wasn't on my vision board in my head. So I wasn't. Of course, I grew up in Islamic faith, and my mother wasn't having that. So, and nor did I want it though. I wanted to get married, and that's the first time I had with my husband. That's what I wanted. I wanted that person to be the person I got married to. So.
Okay, so this question is for Brother Nashid and Sister Naadiya, is incoming from the chat. Would you have married your spouse if you felt like you weren't in love with them?
Say that one more time, the last part.
Would you have married your spouse if you didn't feel like you were in love with them?
I feel like at that younger age, definitely not. I feel like it's important. Well, it was important for me and for us to have, a friendship and a real genuine love for each other, in order for us to, feel like we can make it and we can, go forward. So I would definitely say like the love for me had to be there.
It's kind of awkward question, but because like when you think back now, like your idea of love, I don't know. I think my idea of love has grown with witnessing it from having a mate, and just what you think you love at a younger age. As you grow, you find out that it just grows naturally. So what you thought was love back then, it might have been not the fully blossom love that you're witnessing now. You know what I mean? Because you got the experiences, you have the children, you have the ups, you have the downs, right? And then just being able to go through those experiences with someone that really genuinely has your back, that cares for you. You know what I mean? That love grows. You know what I mean? So I would say that the love has grown, and I would want to say, yeah, of course, that I would still, of course, want to love the person that I want to marry.
Right. So this question is for everyone to answer, but we could start with Naimah and Khalid. So during your courting period, what did it look like? Like, how would you say like that period did take place?
Well, for us, we were intended for 2 years. We were intended for 2 years, which means we were courting with each other for 2 years, and I would really say the latter part was just making sure we had our finances together. I really felt like that first year that we got to know each other, we developed a really strong friendship with each other, and just like Zahrah was saying, that I felt like this was husband material. This is a person that I can see having children with, and having deep conversations, and both of us having worried about the well-being of each other. So we were intended for 2 years, and then right after that, we got married.
Yeah, the whole courting thing. Well, in the Islamic faith, and I think in other faiths, the difficulty with courting in America is that because usually you're supposed to have a third person with you whenever you're with each other outside and among, you should never be by yourself in a perfect world. So that was, again, a difficult situation because I wanted to be with her, a lot. and going back to the other question, about love. I remember, and one of our imams said that Islam begins cold and gets hot, meaning that these ideas that we have about romance and getting on your knee and all this stuff and love at first sight, I think, in my opinion, deters people from really evolving into a marriage, because what happens is you expect a lot in the beginning and it's not really there because you don't know each other. So love really comes after y'all knowing each other. Really, in the beginning, is a sexual attraction, and now you want to get to know each other. You know what I mean?
I just wanted to add something really quick. It just reminded me that we did have a third party with us, and that was my little sister, and she made it very irritating.
Yes,
but us. It was great. It was great because we didn't get in trouble. Yeah. So.
Well, but yeah, the courting thing, the Islamic tradition is there's always a third person, whether it's your parents, older brother, or someone there to assist in y'all trying to find each other without jumping on each other and having sex, and that sexual connection is there. So the third person is trying to help y'all talk to each other, assist with them. So it was difficult, and I think it's continuing to be difficult in this situation because in the American society.
Yeah. And how would you say how long a courting period should be? Naimah and Khalid.
Oh, I mean, there's no set time. There's no set time. It's whatever that really feels comfortable for you. I mean, if it's a year, if it's 6 months, it's 6 months, but you have to feel comfortable within yourself that the person that you want to get married well enough for this to be forever. And this is what I was in my mind. I was always thinking forever, not, next week, a 6 months trial period. I was thinking forever. So, for me, that meant, at least a year. And like I said, it was ongoing because we was trying to get our money together.
Yeah.
Would anybody else like to add anything before we move on to the next question, or are we good?
I was gonna add to the question that was asked to Nashid about love, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think really was more important was to answer the social obligation, right? We have a social obligation in our community, and that's what we don't want to shy away from or run away from. What happens is too many times in the Black community, we run away from our social obligation. So you'll have a guy, he may not be that totally interested in that sister, but he decided that he wanted to engage her, and they involved themselves sexually, and then she ended up getting pregnant, and then he's gone. He's gone. So, and then we will celebrate it in a form of giving that sister a baby shower. Everybody send gifts. The whole family comes out. But that guy who impregnated her is not even there. He's not even there. So really, what's a better way? What's a better way is the way in which you see a lot of people on this panel have handled it. Is to, if you find someone that you're interested in, the men in our community and the Black community as a whole should answer that social obligation. I don't care how deep you in love with her. It don't matter. Like, if you decided that you're ready to engage with her sexually, then you need to marry her and honor that. And that's what we need to be. That's what needs to be clear. And then from honoring that, you'll grow in love with a person. Like, I love her now way much more than I did then. I thought back then that was real love. But now it's like, we go to the, wherever we gotta go. You know what I mean? So it's just you grow over time in love with a particular person. It doesn't just happen, it doesn't work like that. Love gets entered into your heart over time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. So since we were talking about love, how would you describe, like, how would you know you are actually in love, and how does your understanding of love mature as you grow and, you know, get older? Anyone can answer this. Is a really broad question.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, you know, I was watching, I'm just gonna say, like, my father married my mother, um, uh, that was back in the 80s, but he married my mother, and they've been married for 30 years. And I've watched my father, like, over time. It was only until my mother passed away when I really realized what real love is. You know, just how he handled the whole process, like how he was with her throughout the process, even how he even talks about her today and how he deals with, you know, people ask about her. Just everything about him is like gracious, like, you know, that's real love. And I know that wouldn't have been what he would have done if she had passed away immediately once he married her. It would have been different. But the fact that they went through so many ups and downs together, so many sacrifices together, as you know, had all these children together, you know, went through so much, and she was still there with him, and he was still there with her. That's what created that one soul. That's what created that love. You know, it was organic. It wasn't something like, I think now she was mentioning earlier. It's not like a fairy tale, like just something that just, you know, just happens. You know, it's really our condition. Like even with African Americans as a whole, it's like we love each other. Like if I see a black man or black woman getting beat on the street or getting misused, it's a certain love I have for that person that somebody else, I will run up there and just stop it. But there's just a certain love that I have for my own people because what we've been through together, right? Like just what our experiences are together. That's why we react to what's happening with George Floyd, the way that we're reacting, right? That's why we be ready to blow up everything, burn, build, because it's a certain love that we have for each other, you know, that, and that's something that happens over a period of time through pain, through laughter, through joy, you know, so.
I mean, for me, having my parents not have a great relationship made me want love. I didn't see my parents showing love with each other. They were arguing a lot, and may Allah forgive them and grant them paradise. But because of that experience, the fighting, the constant fighting and arguing, and I never saw them hold hands. I never saw them hug. I never saw them really show any kind of intimacy as a boy, as a black boy, black man. I think a lot of us grew up that way, unfortunately. So because of that, that made me want that. You know, I didn't like the feeling of non-hugs and non-communication and no, you know, sitting down with your dad and having those kind of intimate. I wanted that. So so I said to myself, I really didn't even express this to my brothers and sisters because they dealt with it in their ways. I said to myself, I want better than this. I want, you know, the opposite of this. Whatever that, you know, I'm 15, 16 saying this to myself. So for me, love is something that you have to go through, like what Shareef was saying. I mean, like Shareef was saying, you have to go through something with each other, and then, you know, have that happen, and then okay, you know, I can still work with you. Have something else happen, I can still work with you. It's not a thing where that's enough. That's the level, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Love comes out of relationship. You have to have a relationship. You have to talk. You have to touch. You have to explain what you said that hurt my feelings. All that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I had to learn because I didn't grow up seeing it. And if I didn't have mentors and certain people helping me with that, and this is what I think is happening in the Black community, where what I saw in my house, I would have replicated if I didn't have the help that I had, the mentors and the teachers that I had. because you need. I remember he said that words are what you do. So if you say you love someone, there's a behavior that goes with those words. So the way we grew, a lot of us grew up, we saw fighting. My father didn't abuse my mother, but some of my friends, the abuse, constant arguing with no reconciliation. So in your mind, you're taking all that in as a child, and you, that's what love is. So I remember I hope I'm not talking too much, but I was talking to one guy, and one of my my coworkers. He said, "Man, I can't be with a girl who's too nice, man. Something's got to be wrong with her, man. Something's got to be, in order for me to really like her, man, she just got to have some kind of problems, man. That's why I don't, And when I talking to him, that's why I asked him. I started talking. So how did you grow up? My father abused my mother. So he took that as a relationship. So he started looking for that. And a lot of us, unfortunately, single parent situations, abusive situations, we take that in as children, and now I expect her. Why are you so nice? Why are you always happy? What happened to the? You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that's what our relationship becomes. So yeah.
I did want to add one thing. Just in addition, we're human beings, and we're social beings, and so that social bond, you know what I mean? I remember having that, as you get of that age, you have that urge, you have that desire, you know what I mean? You have that attraction, and it has to be funneled in that right direction, you know what I mean? And so marriage is that sacred bond, is that sacred connection. And so early on, I would look closely at my wife, at Naadiya, and see how she carried herself in certain situations. I would look at her family structure, right? I would look at her father, her mother, you know what I mean? I would compare, like Khalid was saying, like the brother was saying, to my parents, to my examples of my mother, you know what I mean? Of how I would want, her to be, in comparison, to see, does it align? Is there some congruency between the two, you know what I mean? And from looking at that, kind of like what we're talking about with love, you can see the potential that's there. You know what I mean? She's very kind. She's very caring. I could see her having my children. You know what I mean? She's very focused and driven. You know what I mean? I can see us setting goals and accomplishing things with each other. You know what I mean? So you can fall in love with the potential of your mate. You see what I mean? You can fall in love with that. You can, even though it hasn't materialized yet, but you can just see it. You just know I got a good thing. And then in turn, that reflects on you. It's like, hold on, man, let me straighten up. Let me get my game right. You know what I mean? Like, because they can't have me out here looking bad. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, she's good, but I'm good too. I'm a catch too. You know what I mean? So you step your game up. And I was telling people all the time, you know what I mean? Marriage is work. You know what I mean? And it's good work. You know what I mean? It just makes you better. You know what I mean? In every sense. So definitely just looking down the road, like the sister was saying, it's a long-term commitment. You know what I mean? And through that commitment, there's gonna be trials and tribulations. But you just falling in love really with the potential of that mate that you see from your parents and your upbringing and your faith.
Yeah.
So talking about continuing the conversation, what are some things you do to nurture a marriage and to keep it strong? Anyone can answer.
I mean, I'll start. One of the things that I try to do is try to do something new every week or every month. One of the things I realized is, this is 23 years, and you can't keep doing the same thing, and for it to grow. It becomes like what do you call that? Like I expect you to sit there, and she expects to sit there. You have the same coffee and the same thing. It becomes boring. You have to flip it around. Like I remember I used to like my hair really, really short when I first got married. And then my wife saw my hair, coming out because, whatever. And she saw that your hair looks nice, because whatever. And so I started styling my hair up differently. You know what I'm trying to say? Because it excited her. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with her. That you have to keep growing. You have to educate yourself or whatever it is. For myself, it's trying new things with my wife. Like one time I took her we went to a park and we just started swinging on the swing. You know what I'm saying? We're and that was an exciting thing. Well, another time, because the first time I think I took her to the beach. She didn't grow up going to the beach. This is her story. She'll explain. But the first time taking her to the beach was like whole nother expression for her. So for me, it's like always trying to think, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? You know what I mean? It's that, what else can I do to make this thing? Because what happens is, once you start knowing, oh, he's gonna go sit here, she's gonna go over there, he's gonna wear the same this. You start to take for granted who the other person is. That's just my opinion.
Well, anyone else?
I was gonna say, we, like the brother was saying, spice it up a little bit. I think that a lot of times with us, we still young, so we still do like, I guess, fun or adventurous type of things. You know what I mean? We can go out for a walk. You know what I mean? You can go to the lake. It's a lot of times just changing the scene, but long as long as your partner is there, you know what I mean, you can think of something to say, you can think of something to talk about, you know what I mean? There's always activities and things to do, whether it's horseback riding or, you know what I mean, just different things just to create different experiences. You know what I mean? So a lot of times is just that simple, and just I think just communication. You know what I mean? Just the conversation, just, you know what I mean, just that forward thinking, like where you see yourself 5 years from now, you know what I mean, 10 years from now, you know what I mean? Think you can reflect, look at where we started at, you know what I mean? Look at where we're going, the businesses, the children, like you could be up to really like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, just having that in-depth conversation on your children, on your life, you know what I mean? Where you see yourself, you know what I mean? The illnesses of our communities, the greatnesses of our communities, you know what I mean? So I really think it's just the conversation piece is what I really enjoy, and it don't matter where it can be, you know what I mean? And not to get too into it, but we just got back from a little short trip. We went down to Florida, a little Airbnb, had a little pool, a little jacuzzi or whatever, and we were just in there. You know what I mean? It was good though, man. It was just like, it just really put a spark back into our marriage, and we were just in there just talking, just having a candid conversation, and it just that gave us another 50 years when I'm married, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, stuff like that though, you know what I mean? I'm joking, but yeah, stuff like that.
And to add, like it's also like the simple things, it don't even have to be anything too extravagant. You could be just at the house and like, okay, let's find a show that we both like, and we come together after a long day once the kids in the bed, and we watch our little show while we doing work or whatever on our laptops, or just talking about like you were saying, talking about our goals, our visions, like things that we want to do. Just little stuff, kindness, just doing little things like, oh, I know you like for when I do this, let me make sure I, do this for you because I know, oh, you mentioned that, like, just listening out for like little things that, whatever the case may be. Oh, I heard him say this the other day. Let me, surprise, vice versa, just little stuff like that, to know that, you go just to make the other person happier, smile. It could just be real simple, small stuff, but it go a long way. Kindness and all that stuff goes a long way.
Nice. Okay, so this question is coming in from the question and answer. It's for Brother Shareef and his wife. It says, is it accurate to say that in an Islamic culture and religion to have more than one spouse? And if so, how would that work in a Western society?
Okay. So this is a fun conversation. So yeah, so in in the religion of Al-Islam, polygyny is allowed. So there's a difference between polygyny and polygamy. Polygamy is multiple spouses. Multiple spouses, but specifically what we have in our religion is a man is allowed to have more than one wife, right? So that's this could be a long conversation, but what we essentially have is in our religion we are allowed to have this is allowed because it's again, it goes back to like the social responsibility. So I think like in our culture and in the 21st century, we may look at that. It's hard for us to see polygamy outside of the confines, out of the lenses that we have. That so it's greater than. So people will often think about it being, about like sexual attraction or about like having a man having different options, stuff like that, but more so the example that we have and the structure that we have it laid out is really through social obligation. So when we see a man who is engaged in polygyny with the right spirit is a man who is who's taking the responsibility to take care of those who need it, right? And we have that just generally in our religion, in our faith, that we're supposed to, extend ourselves and, help support those who need it. And polygyny is a way that can be done. So to answer the question, like, it is correct to say that is a reality, that is a thing. It also comes with, it should be done in a certain context, and it has a certain rules and methods to go about it. So far as like, just everything, the introduction and, the process, the courting process and everything, there's rules and laws around it. But it's essentially for, like, as we were talking about, like, marriage generally, like both monogamy, which most people, lean towards, but monogamy as well as polygyny, it's for the, it should be for the greater good. It's not just about like the individual or the husband and the wife. It's more so thinking in the context of, what does the family need? What does the community need? What does society need? And that's the lens from which we see, that we see and understand like polygyny in our religion.
Yeah. And then to add to that is, so they said, so this is coming from an Islamic point of view. So in the Quran, God states very clearly that the men should take care of the orphans, right? That's before polygamy is even introduced. That we have a social obligation to be taking care of those in our community that need that help. So really, I would say that it makes more sense for us to focus more on the social obligation of taking care of those members in your community. And then, by in the process of doing that, like, so let's make this a little bit more realistic, right? In our community, in the African-American community right now, one of the things that we have is that we have an influx of sisters, African-American women that are raising children without a man in the household. And the numbers are shocking, drastically higher than any other race. Over 70% of the households, of African-American households, over 70% is with a single parent, primarily a single system. And when you have that, you also would study, as I've studied, that what comes out of that. What comes out of that is those children that she's raising are 2 or 3 times more likely not to go to college, 2 or 3 times more likely to be in prison or to commit a crime and then go to prison, to not have a job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really, men in our community, just in general, Muslim or not, Black men in particular who can, we should answer the social obligation first. look out in your community and see if there are any sisters that are struggling with their children, struggling with meeting bills, struggling with these different type of things. And then answer that, right? Answer that social obligation first. You know, because it's very hard, very difficult really for a man to take on a second wife, and it was just his interest was just lust. Like, oh, she pretty as, you know, she this, let me go directly after. Yeah, you should look at, you know, is she working? Does she have a job? Is she struggling where she's at? Is she protected? Is, you know, all on and on and on. Does she have children? How old are those children, right? So this is like, from the Islamic point of view, you know, we have a social obligation to answer first. And then if you look at the verse in Quran, then after answer the social obligation, and if you can't answer, if you can't fulfill that with justice, marry 2, 3, or 4. That's what the verse, but the first part is answering the social obligation. Good answer.
Well, adding on to that, when you were saying that when you're looking for people who needs help in the community, and someone asked, do you have to marry the person to do that?
So do you have to marry a person to support them?
No, you don't. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to marry a person to support them. You know, even in our own family, like there's people that we help and we take care of that we, you know, that interest is not even there for those particular people. So to answer the question, no, you don't have to be married to the person to help them. No.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add before we move on to the next question? Are we good? Okay. So, since you all have children, do you think your children, the next generation, people like us, me and my sister and other people, will be able to embrace marriage, choosing a mate with the same or similar success as yourselves, since you've been married since you were 17, 23 years, and so on? Anyone could go. It relates to everybody.
I mean, for me, well, for us, one of the things that I've realized is the difference in parenting. As African Americans, when you study our history, us coming here, being forced to come here and being slaves and being stripped of every social norm, the things that our parenting skills that our parent generation and parent generation before were based on that experience. So learning a better way of parenting makes you start to understand how you can connect to your children. And one of the things I realized was, because me and my wife talked about this from the first day for the firstborn, the things that we didn't want to do that our parents did with us. We started talking about that, and started talking about what is best for our children. So one of the things that like I said, I wanted to be with Naimah when I was 13. She was 12. Our parents didn't really connect with us, with each other, to have that smooth transition, the way I hear with Shareef and his wife. One of the things that I'll do differently, and I think our children have a better situation, is having a relationship with the other family. It's similar with what Shareef and other brother was saying. Having that, because I noticed that's what happened. A lot of people that I grew up who are not married anymore, the issues was that guidance, and early, when you're younger, the guidance that you need from your parents and other older people to help you with that guidance. So for the success our children will have, God willing, is our input with them, our relationship with them, and our relationship with the potential mate's family. So once you have that relationship, that's what helps guide the marriage. You need, like I said, I had to go, you know, after my father passed away in 1988, I had to find my own male mentors, to help me become a man, in a sense. you know, and that's what I think. I think the story of Moses is the same thing, where he was mentored by the wife that he married, her father, and I believe that that's what a lot of our men, our boys need. So I'll be there. If that person doesn't have a father, I'll be the father to that person and help him, guide him, to help teach him how to treat my daughter, and help, you know what I'm trying to say? So like Shareef and they were talking about the bigger social responsibility. Because 70% of boys are growing up without fathers, that's my role, that's my job. And I don't want to kill anybody. So I have to help mold that person to understand how to treat a woman, how to treat, you know, all those kind of things. So that's my input.
Yeah, I would say for sure, like it's the goal to have them, you know, continue on and look at marriage, you know, whether it be at a young age. But I feel like the way for us to do that is really to have those conversations with them, and also more than that, just be an example and make it attractive for them. Make it, because, you know, a lot of people who don't want to get married, it's usually because they've seen marriages that don't work, or they, you know, they have a bad image of what marriage is. But I feel like if we set the example and surround ourselves with people who also are setting the example to make marriage look attractive and look like something that's cool, and something that they want to do, it could definitely, we can definitely get that our children to look at marriage and then have those conversations with them early on and just throughout those lives, and be open with them about marriage, about expectations, and, you know, realistic expectations of what marriage is. Definitely, I feel like, you know, we would want them to continue that on.
Anyone else want to add on? You good? Okay, so the next question is, what should newlyweds expect or be prepared for in the beginning of their marriage?
A lot of awkwardness. I mean,
a long period of trying to get to know each other. So you'll argue, you'll cry, you'll be mad, you'll be happy, you know, a lot of range of mixed emotions, you know, because this is someone that you've never been with. When you're courting, I go home, you know, so I'm actually sleeping with this person, and I'm with this person 24 hours now. So, you know, ooh, he smells bad, or ooh, she does this weird, you know. Those are the things that the fairy tale image of marriage, you know, you think isn't that's portrayed to you when you think about marriage. So you're getting the raw version of that person up front and close, and what you really have to be taught is just to see the humanness out of each other. So, you know, it's a lot, but you have to go into it optimistically. You know, everything's not a let me, you know, this person did something and I'm out now, I'm getting a divorce. No, you have to work, and it has to be a whole lot of communication, just a lot of it. Explain to me why you do this. Tell me why you do that. You know, what is that you do? You know, it's a lot of it. And that's what you have to expect from each other. And what young people have to understand is that's how you're opening up yourselves to the other person. You have to be willing to open yourself and answer all these questions. They're going to dig deep. They're going to hurt. You're not going to know why that person is asking these questions, because they want to get to know you and the real you. So upon doing that, it's going to be a lot. You know, you'll laugh a lot, you cry a lot, you know, but at the end, it's the love that comes from that is immaculate, you know. You know, sometimes we sit next to each other and I'm like, you know, I really feel comfortable after 23 years. I really feel comfortable in our skin. I always tell that to him, like, you know, like I don't have to wear a matching shoe. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. My chemo could be cocked to the side. I'm, you know, like I'm good. And we're feeling good as a couple, you know, like we talk, the late nights, like the brother said, talking, and it's just, it all leads up to that. But it's the constant communication that you have to know that you have to be prepared to do and have.
And then just to add something, it's the newlyweds, you need people, I'll say this, older people or mentors who can assist you in the beginning. And when I mean assist you is, you know, that I can go to someone and say, you know, this is really, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so, and hit, for that person to say, listen, you know what this is? She's a new wife and blah, blah, blah. You need affirmation. You need people to, because it's new to you. Specifically, if you're coming out of a home that they were a single parent, you're coming out of a home where there was abuse, or you're coming out of a home where the parents didn't really connect, and that was your, what's the word? That was your model. What was modeled in front of you, that's what you're going to do when y'all first get married. So if you don't have anyone, even if she doesn't understand what you're talking about, and you're trying to, and y'all are not communicating well, y'all need someone else to go to assist you. Because a lot of the people that I just think about, what happened was they needed assistance, they needed help, and their arguing and their fighting just got worse because they didn't get any help. So that's part of it. In the beginning, you need a lot of communication, and you need assistance on the outside, in my opinion.
I think also, like they were saying, like you're with a whole new person. You know what I mean? And not only are you starting to discover each other, but you also discover yourself. You know what I mean? You recognize things that you would have never recognized, that your mother, that your brother, whoever couldn't tell you. That's just who you are, how I am. You know what I mean? But now you have someone that's totally new. It's like, nah, why you do that? Like, you realize every time you do such and such, this happens, or you realize that you don't communicate, or you realize that whatever it is that you just haven't realized, especially, and I think it gets, I ain't gonna say it gets worse as you get older, but you get more in your ways as you get older. So it can be harder at times. You know what I mean? That's why I'm getting married young. One of the good things of getting married at a young age, where you haven't formed those strong habits and you're not stuck in your ways. You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely wanted to add that you also are discovering things about yourself. So it's good when you're communicating like the couple said, and that's very, very important. And I stress it a lot because I struggle with it, to be honest. But yeah, it's just important to over communicate and just, you know what I mean, really reflect on what your partner is telling you. So make sure you're listening, you know what I mean? And that goes both ways. And also my second thing that I wanted to add was the social component. So it's important, just like you said, the support. Just know that when you get married, you know what I mean, a lot of times your friends, if they're not married, you know what I mean, that's going to change. You know what I mean? So you want to surround yourself with people that's on the same wave that you want. You know what I mean? So it's important that brothers get with other brothers that's in similar situations. Y'all discuss about those things, those challenges, those goods, those pros, those cons. And it's important the sisters do the same thing. You know what I mean? I know when we was young, when we got married, we would get with other couples and have a couples night and things like that. And there'd be times where the brothers will, you know, get together and we'll just talk, and the sisters will do the same thing. I think that's extremely important. You know what I mean? And so you can have someone that you're going through this with and know that you're not going through it on your own, that someone's experienced something similar. Definitely.
Yeah, man, I agree. Oh, I'm sorry, Nadia, was you about to say something? Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, you know, we all, I think I just heard you all say, like, yeah, we struggle with communication. I think that's just, I don't know if that's a man thing or not, but I think that, you know, a lot of us just struggle with that. You know, women, you know, they love to talk, not in the sense of like running mouth, but I'm just saying they love to, that's just like a way that they want to bond and want to talk, you know. But I was just telling a young brother who had just got married, and I was giving him some advice, and I don't think I really shared this advice with too many people before, but it was so true, because it's something that I think that, you learn in marriage that you apply to in business, right? And that's patience, right? You have to be patient. When you bring a person on your team or you marry a person, like you're not marrying them or partnering with them or bringing them on your team to get rid of them in time. That's not the way we do business. And that's not the way that we should marry. We shouldn't marry someone with the idea of, if things go wrong, I'm just going to divorce them. Like, that's not the way that we should marry. Anytime we start thinking like that, you know, that's just, you're not entering it right. Something's already off and wrong. You know, you have to, when you look at that partner, you look at that marriage or that business partner, et cetera, you know, you have to be in it for the long run. And you have to communicate that, because you never know if the person is feeling that same way. You have to communicate that. So me and my wife, when we first got married, we used to sit down with each other right after we prayed, and we would just, I don't know if we said it like, I know we used to say no divorce. We would never divorce. We would never divorce. And I don't know how many times we said, we would just say it. We used to just say it after prayer. And I realized how that really helped us throughout marriage, because when we got married, like I said, she had just turned 17. You know, I was 17, you know, and everything in society was working against us. Everything in society was working against us. The images when you ride down the street was working against us. TV was working against us. A lot of people in our family was working against us who didn't necessarily come from our background, et cetera. Like, I mean, you know, we Muslim, African-American Muslim, but, you know, that's not, you know, majority of our families are Christian or from a different background. We know that. So, it wasn't necessarily the thing that they would do. In fact, that this is a cultural shift to get married at such a young age. That's a cultural shift that we're talking about today that a lot of people are not doing. The world right now is throwing away marriage totally. So the fact that we're talking about not just being married, but getting married at a young age, that's something totally different, but it works. It works, it protects, especially if you have that support system. It really works. And I'll say this real quick. It's like, it's sort of like a garden. You know, when you have a garden and you're growing things, if you take a seedling that was in a different environment and you come and put that seedling in your environment, you have to water it and give it a lot of water in the very beginning. Otherwise, it won't survive. Most of them will not survive. Like, you have to give it a lot of water. And you have to make sure that the environment that you put it in is the right type of environment. Sometimes a similar environment. We all see this with fish. You can't just take a fish out of cold water and just throw it into a different type of water. It would kill it. So you have to be very careful with your spouse. You know, if you know that they're coming from a different background, you know, and their family could be good people. It's just that they're coming from a different way of communicating, a way that, you know, they may be very sensitive about things, right? Or they may be very harsh, you know, like cold, like just cold people. You know, a lot of people up there in New Jersey and, you know, and New York, man, cold people, you know, DC, cold people, you know, but down here in the South, people are very warm. People are very warm for the most part down here in the South. So if you come from up north and you from up north and you marry somebody from down south, you at least should have that in your mind. I can't talk to her this way. I can't just say these type of things. You know, I got to be very careful. You know, like when we first got married, there were a lot of things that I saw in my mother that I wanted to immediately see in her. Immediately. You know, I'm thinking how my mother worked a 9 to 5 and, you know, she, you know, come in the house and clean up everything and, you know, take care of us and then cook my father a big old meal and make sure he get the biggest piece of chicken. It was like, you know, you see that, but that wasn't overnight. She was groomed into that, right? And when you marry a person at a young age, you have to be patient enough to say, you know what? She may not be cooking right now, at least not the way I wanted to. But in 5-10 years, if I could just wait 5 years or 10 years, if I could just hold on, you know, I'll be getting the best meals ever, you know. And right now, that's what I'm getting, you know. When we first got married, you know, she was, you know, figuring it out, you know. I was patient, you know, I was patient with that, you know. But then now it's like 4-course meals. What we had last night? Yeah, steak, yeah, ribs, you know, potatoes, and yeah, collards from the garden. So that's not what you're going to expect on the first, and you know, you can't expect that. Right. You know, that comes from everything, you know, and it's the same thing with her. You know, well, we didn't have that many bills back then. Let me say that. I was covering everything even then, but we didn't have that many bills back then. You know, like back then, you know, we were surviving off $100 a month. You know, now, you know, bills could run up $4,000, $5,000 a month, especially kids in school. So, you know, you never, you know, she will have to be patient with me as I get there, and I got to be patient with her as she gets there. And when you have children, you have to be patient with them as they get to where you want them to get to. So, you know, patience and communication.
Straight up. Straight up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, okay. I blinked out for a second. So this question is for Brother Nashid and Sister Naadiya. What would you advise new couples faced with experience negative forces challenging the scared institution of marriage?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. Okay, so what would you advise new couples faced with experience, like negative experiences, challenging the scared institution of marriage?
Sacred.
I'm guessing like negative experiences with marriage.
Yeah, that's supposed to be sacred.
Sacred, yeah.
Oh, sacred. I can't read.
Okay. What would we advise?
Mm-hmm.
Like overcoming that? I was. Let's see.
Yeah, I think, well, with any marriage, whether it's, you know, come with negative, everyone has, you know, whether it's negative from them personally or from their family or from what they saw in their models. I think definitely counseling is something that you should definitely, you know what I mean, that should be definitely one of your first moves to go to counseling. You know, marriage counseling, you know what I mean? A lot of talk around now with the mental health and awareness type of thing as well. That would help. But I definitely think counseling, you know, even that was something that was, I think it was required. I'm not sure. I think it is. Yeah, it was required for us to do counseling, marriage counseling with our religious leader. So we would have different sessions, and we would get a lot of things out there. You know what I mean? Like wearing your scarf is important, or you know what I mean? Whatever it is that people have expectations. You know what I mean? But sometimes you don't always voice those expectations. You just assume. You know what I mean? So it's important to have a good, clean environment where you're able to voice those things, and you have someone there that's able to prompt those type of questions and those type of scenarios that you'll be faced with. So you'll get those wheels turning, right? And start thinking on that level of marriage, and you can kind of even see why a person is thinking the way that person is thinking. You know what I mean? Where it's stemming from. You know what I mean? If it's stemming from abuse, if it's stemming from neglect, if it's stemming from, you know what I mean? You can kind of have a leg up, like, you know what I mean? It won't be just like a shot all at once type of thing. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking about, you know, a few marriages that experience some of those things. So it's very important, I would say, counseling, even on the individual level, maybe even before, you know what I mean, you get married, and then definitely doing some joint marriage or premarital counseling.
Yeah. And I would say, yeah, we were kind of having conversations recently about, like, you know, why certain people, or, you know, looking at couples that we know that didn't last, or, you know, just why certain people maybe shy away from marriage. And it's usually, you know, some type of trauma, you know, like he was saying, some type of trauma. So I feel like if people have a negative image of marriage, you know, first confront, like, why do you think that, you know, or why are you scared of marriage? Why don't you, you know, is it something that you witnessed in your childhood? You know, have you seen many successful marriages? And then try to find, you know, people around you that have had a successful marriage, and, you know, have conversations with them. What, you know, have, like, you know, some people that you may respect, look up to, whether it's other couples in your peer group, older elders, and, you know, just kind of have conversations, because I mean, it's something that you probably need to confront. And if it's a fear, you know, or a trauma, it's something that you know, could face and work through and figure out why, and, you know, get over it.
Yeah, definitely. And just like brother said earlier, Shareef said earlier, you know what I mean? Like now that you done had that counseling, And now that you kind of know some things, or you can kind of be privy to some things, now it's like, well, that can't be us. You know what I mean? We gonna make it through. Like a lot of times we had that same thing. Like we gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like we gonna be in it for the long haul. Like we ain't getting a divorce. You know what I mean? So now you just have that energy. You know what I mean? To just like combat those things and to fight those things and just say, hey, we in it together. Whatever the situation is, you know, we gonna get through it together. And again, that grows that love that we talked about in the very beginning. Because now you got something to fight against. Now you faced with some type of problem. You know what I mean? So now it's like, all right, how we gonna combat this? How we gonna do this? We making this commitment, so we all in. You know?
It's like, and I agree, man, 100%. You know, I was just having this conversation. Where is that? We have to be very protective of our environment, right? And if the environment is not conducive for our best life, our marriage life, even our personal life. Like if we have our children growing up where all the images that they see are just these fairy tales of Caucasian people just living a paradise life, you know, as soon as we run into one issue with a black person, we're ready to throw them away and go find somebody else. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful what we put in front of our children and what we put in front of ourselves. And if that was in front of us, we have to address that. You know, when you go on social media, you go on anywhere, you know, we have everyone else enjoying life but us. So but we still have this, what I want out of life. What I want is these things. And we'll be ready to throw the whole ship away, throw everybody away to get what we believe we're gonna go after, what we believe we should get. So the environment is key. And I would say that, like, looking at, what do I mean by that? Is if you have a lot of negative influences surrounding you, move from that environment. Like if that's the physical environment, move from that environment. If there's a mental environment that's been cultivated in your mind and in your soul, then you will have to create a new environment within your mind and within your soul. And then build that environment up, you know, be grateful, you know, start showing appreciation for a lot of different things. That could help you, you know, with establishing a better mental state, especially if, you know, if you grew up and it's like everything, you know, everything around you was just difficult and negative, then you'll start to be very difficult and negative with people, with your own self. So, you know, marriage is a bonding of two people, right? You're bonding two people. But if those two people are off, then the marriage is going to be off. Period. Now, if the two people are working on themselves and they marry each other and they continue to work on themselves, then that marriage is going to be good. The marriage is going to be successful because they're working on themselves. So environment, I would say that environment is key as well. You know, your physical environment, your mental environment, and your spiritual environment, you know, and then working to cultivate those and know that at all times throughout marriage and throughout life, individually and within the marriage, something and someone is going to be attacking all of those environments. They're going to be attacking that. So you have to be, sometimes you have to tell yourself, you say, look, babe, you know, in up here in upstate New York, it ain't a good place for us. You know, we might have to move down to Atlanta. You know, we might have to go down to Atlanta, you know, where the grass is a little greener, you know, and the sun, it's a little warmer down there, you know, because it's just a better environment. And you say, you know, there's other young couples that go back to that plant. You know, when you take a plant, you don't put a plant in the midst of a bunch of weeds. You don't plant a plant in the midst of a bunch of weeds. They will wrap around that plant and strangle that plant, take all the nutrients from that plant. They will destroy that plant. I don't care how big the plant is, it's going to destroy it. So you have to take that plant and put that plant amongst other seedlings. As many as y'all could, you know, as many as you could get. And then there's more protection when you have more of those, you know. So, you know, enough with the garden, but that's yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to add something. I remember at our wedding, the imam said, he said, y'all should see yourselves as a new beginning. So me and my wife, you're starting something new. And that's how you should see yourself every day. Like when you wake up, this is new. We got to try something different. Someone just told Shareef, stop hating on New York.
We
but,
we lived in upstate New York.
No, the real issue is, yeah, you know, it's just like a business or anything, man. You know, you have to move away from negative people. It's just, there's no other choice. I remember D.L. Hughley said he had a cousin that he kept bailing out and giving him money, knowing that he was going to do drugs, hoping that he would stop. And he kept giving him money, kept giving him money. He said, because he loved his cousin. I was his cousin. He loved him since he was a child. He said, I realized that I was enabling him and that I wasn't helping him. I had to stop giving him money and basically shifting away from him, because all he was doing was using him to get money. It was a negative influence. So it's just, you have to, it's hard, it's not easy. If it's your family, or if it's a close friend, or if it's whoever it is, if it's affecting what that person says, affecting you and your wife now, you're looking at your wife differently. She's looking at you differently because of that group that you're around. That's not good. You know, that's not good. It's not helpful. So yeah, it's all the stories that we hear in the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, about people leaving. It's not always a physical environment, but it's shifting your environment. You know, not and filling it up with other things or other people, having new friends and having new people. So yeah.
So adding on to like what we see on the internet and what's shown to us in Black families, can you comment on the images and representation of the Black families, like what exists and what would you like to see and why? This question is for Khalid and Naimah.
I can say this. I remember being 14 and seeing the Cosby Show, and I know everyone has this thing about the Cosby thing, but anyway, seeing the Cosby Show made me want to have that as a kid. I wanted. Well, first I was attracted to Lisa Bonet. That's first of all, but on a bigger scale, I wanted that kind of. You know, I know it was a show. It wasn't whatever. But that kind of peace. So that made me, you know, oh snap, I can be a father and have a attractive wife and have attractive kids and be cool and play jazz, all that stuff I do now. Play jazz and dance around the house and be funny and laugh. You know, that Cosby Show thing, you know, the Fresh Prince, you know, so those things do affect us. And it's unfortunate that the imagery of family for African Americans now isn't as strong as it was when I was growing up in the 80s. You know, a lot of hip hop, I'll say negative hip hop imagery of the women being loose and the man being a thug and whatever. Those things affect you as at an early age as a kid, especially those of us who don't have father figures in the house, or our father's not really connecting with us. So we see those images. I remember I was 13 years old, and I think I just got out of middle school, whatever it was. One of my closest friends started selling crack, and he was in school, and both of his pockets were swollen with money. And I was like, "Yo, where'd you get that money from?" And he showed me this little. I didn't know what crack and none of that stuff. He said, I'm just, you know, I sold it. I was like, word? I was like, wow, what the hell is this? What's little? He's 13 years old making that kind of money. So, because in our environment, those were the successful people in our neighborhood: the crack dealer, the drug seller, the you know, who I had relationships with. That was your schoolmate. That was your school. Those are people you were around. So your friends. Now, the masjid was a great help because our mother would take us on Saturdays and on Sundays and put us in another environment. But Monday through Friday in school, my friends were selling crack. Some other people were selling crack. People were being shot. And those environments affect you. So now you're looking for manhood. You know what I'm trying to say? So the images on television should help most of our children, but it doesn't, in my opinion. They don't show us in a positive light. They don't encourage us to have family like we're doing. They don't encourage us to be financially literate. They show us throwing money. You know what I'm saying? Show us throwing money. They show the guy with the pockets and he just throws a whole stack of something to buy a pair of shoes or a car. And again, when you don't have the father in the house, those become your images. So one of the things, like Shareef was saying, if the men in our community just stood up and took our social responsibility, that would be more of an effect. Like the Nation of Islam, Black Panthers, and how they affected the outside world. If we just did that as a group, came together in our neighborhoods, that would affect us. I would know that there's a bunch of Black men out there doing something. But media, most of the time, our images is being a crook or a thief, unfortunately. And we have to work harder, 3 times harder in my home to show my son the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah, I agree. You know, we got to work very hard at that. You know, like it goes back to, so many people are trying to craft an image for us. They put billions of dollars every year towards shaping our minds and keeping us in a certain position, in a way of thinking. So, but that's not anyone's fight but our fight. That's no one else's fight but our fight. That's not even God's fight. God wants us to fight that fight. So he tells us to fight that fight. So when we see images on a screen, like when I was growing up in Southeast DC, there used to be this a billboard on Benning Road. And there was a billboard of a monkey. It was a white man who had a monkey in his lap, and he was teaching the monkey how to read. He had a book. He was teaching the monkey how to read. And when you're coming down that street, because the monkey had a shirt on, had a hat on, it looked like a young Black boy. That's what it looked like. But that's not what it was. It was only until you got closer when you realized, oh, wait, that's a monkey, right? So, and I would never forget that image. Even as a young person, I will never forget that image. And imagery is everything. And for those that know me, I cut straight to it. Imagery is everything. It's the difficulty in when we have our businesses too, not just alone marriages, but our businesses too. It's sometimes people who work for you, when they look at you as the leader of the company, they look at you as the leader of the company. Sometimes they can't respect you or they can't show you love. It's because they don't even love their own selves. When they see you, they see themselves and they don't love their own selves. Something when they were very young told them that you're not pretty, you're not great. That there's another person that's pretty, that there's another person that's great. And this is why I always call for the removal of any images of the divine, period. Any images of divine, we need to remove those completely. When I was growing up, we saw a picture of so-called Jesus Christ as a white man. I mean, that was the environment for everybody. Everybody grew up seeing that. But what does that do to the psyche of us as a people? And when you talk about wanting to marry why would a Black, after seeing that, why would a Black man want to go after a Black woman? When the pure essence of a person is married and she's painted as a white woman holding a white baby. So we got to go back to all of this. We got to go back to, looking at how these images have affected our community, and then we combat that. That doesn't mean throw a Black Jesus up there, because then you're gonna be causing you have an albino child, and that child like, damn, what's up? So we don't want to portray any images of the divine, period. And then we also just got to be very mindful of whatever's in our neighborhood. Like when we see things like the images house, we have to go down there and rip those things down, or call the person and say, look, I'm gonna buy it off you. We have to, when we see images on Instagram and on Facebook, we should put ads. We should put $100, $200. Get brothers and sisters in our community, put a budget together just to put out advertisements of families holding each other, babies, and beautiful Black families. We should be putting money behind that. So that's our fight.
Okay, so staying on the subject of family, since you all have children, what are some parenting advice or suggestions for those expecting children, or for those who already have children? This question is for Brother Nashid and his wife.
I would just say, it's gonna be challenging, especially, depending on what child. Like, if it's your first child, you know how we are with our first children. You want to be, this perfect parent, and this, you have like everything's organic, whatever, however you are as a parent. Like, just expect to be like flexible. Children, they're all different. You might have a children that doesn't sleep, and you exhausted. Like, everybody's challenges are different. You might have an easygoing baby, but as a young person, or a young couple or a young parent, it gets easier. You get the hang of it. Like, second child, third child, it's second nature. So, just hang in there. Support systems are amazing. Like, if you have that grandmother or friends or whatever, like, try to establish that strong support system, because you're going to need that, with growing your family. But for sure, like, just be flexible, and you'll get the hang of it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Zara. Go ahead.
Yeah, everything that Nadia said, I'll also add, like, as you shift from, like, a unit, as you shifted from a couple to, the actual family unit, I would say, like, I prioritize, like, being fiercely protective of what you what you allow your children to take part in. So I think, like, this ties back into the conversation we're having about, like, imagery and stuff, but that looks a lot of ways. So I think, being very before embark as much as possible before embarking on parenthood, try to have the knowledge, try to know, like, what standards you want to have already, right? So you won't have to be kind of figuring it out as you go. So having ideas about, like, what type of education do you want your child to have? What type of entertainment do you want to give to your children? What type of extracurricular, trying to be as mindful as possible and intentional as possible about what type of environment you're going to create for that child. What do you want your home to look like? Like, so far as, like, scheduling and meals, as much as possible, just try to think it, right? You don't have to, like, write it out just yet, because the baby gonna come and throw your schedule out the window anyway. But just being very, very, very protective and very, like, hands-on as much as possible about what the children are, what type of environments they're in and what they're being exposed to. So I know Shareef and I, we were talking about, like, we try to have movie nights on the weekends with our children. And I was, we always are like, what are we gonna watch? Like, because we see, of course we have all the things, we have Netflix and all that stuff. Recently we got Quality TV, so I'm gonna shout out to her, and that's given us an option to have more, to have entertainment that's more reflective of us. It's like a black Netflix. So, so even stuff like that, we're like, okay, we're mindful of this stuff, but we're also like, okay, we want to see this. We want to see this be better for our children. Like, we want to see them to be able to have better options for for their technology, for the apps that they're using. Like, even, with this virtual learning, we're thinking about, like, what options are we looking at? We're like, okay, well, we don't want to put them in any environment that, that is going to reflect another person's agenda. Like, even from the names and the math problems, like, is it Billy and Tom, or is it, like, is it Malik and, Shaniqua? Like, is it reflecting us or is it not? And, it goes deep. It goes deep when you start thinking about that type of stuff. But, just really being mindful of that, and as much as possible trying to control that, even if that means, like, sending your children to private school, or, now everybody's pretty much doing virtual. So that may work, or you may just have to shift totally to homeschool, straight from scratch with the curriculum. So, yeah, so I, definitely that.
Anyone else want to answer? Okay, so another question is, how do you encourage the girls and boys to be abstinent until marriage? How would you talk with your children?
Great question.
Anyone can answer.
For me, I think that again, being and having a relationship with your children, having a real close relationship with them, because again, I have to use myself as a reference. I really didn't. I remember I think I was listening to Imam Rashad talk about his experience of first getting married, and then a brother coming to him and explaining, talking to him, pulling him to the side. A lot of us don't learn about sexual relationships from our parents, unfortunately. And I think that's important for you to talk to your children. My wife said something before we had our children that, because we were talking about that. She said that whenever your children ask, that's when you answer them. Whenever they have that, whatever age it was. I think Uswa was 9 and Hassan, whatever age it was. Sador was 10 when he asked. So whenever they're asked, you tell them and explain it to them. One of the biggest things is you're encouraging sex for your children, and in marriage, you're encouraging sexual expression is natural. You're trying to make them understand it's natural, and the correct way to go about it. Unfortunately, we live in a society that has warped it, has changed it, has given other names to it. And again, your relationship with your children is very important when they go through those phases, And one of the biggest things that we did for especially our daughters, when they reach puberty, we had a celebration for them. We celebrated them coming into womanhood. For each of them, we're going to do the same thing for our son in the next 2 years, probably. Making sex a natural expression as opposed to what this society commercializes to sell something. Brother Shareef was talking about imagery. So we know that imagery is given to them early, even before they even have sexual desires. So you have to get to them early and explain what these images are. Explain what one of the biggest things. My son was like 6 years old. We were walking down the street, and he saw the image of a Caucasian man on the cross that they call Jesus.
But he didn't know.
And he didn't know that. He said, "Daddy, why is that man on a plus sign?" He's 6 years old and he's never seen that image. So he saw the cross as a plus sign because he was math. And he didn't understand who that man is because we never expressed that to him. Not that he wouldn't see it outside in the television, but that's from 0 to 6. That means we did a good job to a certain extent. That he saw a Caucasian man with blood on his face on a plus sign. And that's how he should see it. That was an image someone constructed to influence him, but we de-influenced him, if that's the term. So when it comes to sexuality, we have to explain to them the understanding of sexuality, of sex, the role of sex, the benefits of sex, and how this society has warped it. So, but the bigger thing is having a relationship with your children, talking to them, because it was, again, we know our generations before, and we understand all that. And, we appreciate our parents and grandparents. But during this time of the cell phone and the internet, if you're not talking to your children about the reality, then Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion are telling you what the reality is. That's what I have to say.
And I just want to add to that as parents, we can't be afraid to talk to them when they have sexual questions. My children know, right? Uswa and Hasana, everything is open. Everything is open. It doesn't matter what your question is. And we're very open, even sometimes Khalid will run and you answer that.
Yes.
But I will answer it, and together we will answer it. So I always tell my children that, are you interested in that one? How about him? But I'm being real with them, and I'm putting little seeds in my son's head when I also say, you know, Sador, you know, when you get older, you know, that's not what you're going to do with your wife, right? You know, I say little things to him like that too. I'm encouraging marriage. I'm encouraging questions. So, you know, they know it's all open.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's the same, you know what I mean? And it starts early. It was a question similar to this one. I think, you know, our oldest child is 7. And, you know, and he kind of hints at different questions dealing with sex or where babies come from, you know, the popular question. So it's just trying to get an advance on those, you know what I mean? Like, when you gonna get married, you know what I mean? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, you gonna get married, right? You know what I mean? Just start, like you said, placing those and planting those seeds. So just having them thinking early, keeping the conversations open, you know what I mean, about things that he's seeing in TV and at school. And, you know what I mean, when we talked about, you know, having movie nights and things like that, like, okay, movies on, let's discuss some of those things that we saw. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a teacher, so I go into, you know what I mean, a little lesson or whatever about whatever it is that's being presented. You know what I mean? But it's important. But it's important that you have those conversations, that you raising your child, and that and you start to plan for it. You know what I mean? I remember, you know, just like you know, we got married young, and it was parts of our marriage where we would stay with each other's parents at times. You know what I mean? As we grew up, as we figured things out. You know what I mean? Working odd jobs, working odd nights. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, you know, when he gets to that age, okay, look, this is a part of the business. Look, this could be your role in the business. You know what I mean? This is how you can support yourself as you start to have those urges. Look, we trying to set things up. You know what I mean? Y'all can have the basement. You know what I mean? Just planning. That's part of your planning. You know what I mean? So that's very important that you, as you having those conversations with your mate, that you're definitely going to have those about your children, and just start to plan and materialize those things and have things in order, because, you know, that's the plan. You know what I mean? It's for them to grow up and have an interest in a mate, and you want to just kind of put that on the best footing possible. You know what I mean? Like the brother said, a lot of times we're just not taught some of those things. You know what I mean? And we just got to break that, and we break it by being open, by being patient, and by communicating.
Okay, so moving on, this question is for Brother Shareef and his wife. If your kids go down a different path other than what you desired for them, how would that relationship be with them? Like, how would you deal with that?
Don't do that.
I'm joking.
I hope nobody. That's a good question. I think, you know, we would answer this in the same way. You know, Shareef and I, we're very different in our spirits and approaches to certain things, you know. But I think we as parents, we have to know that though we put so much, we should be putting so much into our children, we have to know that they are individuals, and they're going to you know, they're going to grow up, you know, they're going to come of age, and they are going to make decisions that they're going to make that only they can make for themselves, right? Like, you know, that we do our best, you know, with what we give them, but, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to make their decisions. And the role of a parent is to impart the best thereof, but then also to, you know, to be merciful enough, and, you know, to be merciful enough and be soft enough that they know that they always have those parents regardless, right? And then know that, you know, their parents are always going to be solid on what the expectation is of them, but also knowing that they're always going to have their parents, you know. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's, you know, as parents, you know, we're trustees, you know, over our children. You know, we don't own them. You know, God owns them. You know, and if there's ever a situation, you know, you put your children in the right environment. You do everything you can to protect your children. You know, however, you know, there are other influences out here that may get them. It's a reality of it. It's a reality that many of us deal with. You know, whether that's family, friends, whether it's our own children, it's a reality. And sometimes, you know, if we believe that we own them, then it would kill us trying to make them who we want them to be. It would take our own life, because we don't own anything. And I don't know, I do this a lot, but I bring it right back to business a lot. It's like, it is your business. And some people say that business is my baby. That's true. That's true. But when you start bringing in other customers, clients, you start bringing in helpers, workers, you do everything you can to protect your business. And if you do a really good job, and you know, I say, like, you got your COO, you got your CMO, your chief marketing officer. Like, let's say if you got a person in marketing, and that person in marketing, you have to tell them what your vision is. Like, even in when We Buy Black, I tell them, I say, listen, this is what I would like to see, right? Here are the brand guidelines. This is what we would like to see. You know, when you post an image of a woman, do not post an image of a naked woman. Don't do that. Not on this page. Make sure that that woman is covered. Make sure that she's decent. And if it's an image of a man, the same exact thing. And don't post, you know, and here's an example, right? It's a real example. If the guy is no shirt on, and he's taking a picture of, I don't know, some coffee or whatever it may be, that has nothing to do with the coffee. It has nothing, his shirt being off has nothing to do with the coffee. The sister has no clothes on and she's selling trash cans or trash bags, whatever it may be. That literally has nothing to do with selling trash bags. You're selling something else. And that's not what we're doing here. You know, that's not what we're doing here. Why am I bringing that up? You have to in your business and in your marriage and in with your children, your family, you have to establish those guidelines. Business, you call them brand guidelines. In your marriage, you have to establish those guidelines with your children. These are our guidelines. And you do everything you can to make sure it's going, you know, on course. But you may not be around your business all day. You may not be on top of your business all day, right? And your business may not be successful. It may not be what you would call successful, because that's what you wanted for your particular business. It may not be that. It may fail. And if it fails, then what can you do about it? That business, you have to say, well, look, you know, while we were making money, we gave to the homeless, we gave to the needy, we took care, we put our children through school, we did X, Y, and Z, we did all these things. Thank God for the great times that we had, but the business is no more. Is no more. So, you know, that's an example, but the overall point is that, we don't own anything. Everything is lended to us. You know, everything is lended to us. We don't own anything. And the more that we start believing that we own everything, that's when we will start having a lot of issues, psychological breakdowns, etc. You know, if our children go off on a different path, you know, we pray for them. We would ask that they, you know, we would try to help them, put things in their way to try to bring them back. But sometimes it's completely nothing you can do, you know, and then it is in God's hands. There's nothing you could do, you know, and sometimes you have to then move to another environment so that the child that decided to go another way, in which not the way in which you plan for your family, they won't start attacking the other businesses or children. So yeah.
So this one's for all three of you. What is the most challenging and rewarding part of being married?
Oh, that's easy.
Of the panel, so
You go first.
Mike.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, She. Go ahead.
All right. I would say the most rewarding part is the companionship. Just two people coming together with goals in mind, you know, to please their Lord, you know what I mean, to please the Creator, and just working in accordance to that. You know what I mean? It's really a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Thinking about where you started from, you know what I mean, and where you're going, and you know, and the lives that you've affected with children and just people in their community. You know what I mean? Just trying to be that upright model for them. And I would say definitely the companionship. You know what I mean? The conversations, the talks, the building up, just all the human essentials, you know what I mean, that you can share with another person I would say that's definitely the most rewarding. You know what I mean? The vulnerability, everything dealing with just the human essence. I would say that's the most rewarding part for me.
Yeah, I would agree. And then the most challenging thing, I would say just like having that balance of, and keeping the spark alive, or keeping, because as we grow and have children, like things can start to wane at times, and you got to remember, like you change. I feel like especially women, with each child and each pregnancy and each stage of life, we're changing. And so we always got to continue to grow and learn ourselves and learn each other. So I feel like just keeping that growth and that spark, and like, you want to have your own individuality, but you also want to maintain as a couple. So you just kind of have to have that balance of, your own sense of self-care and your own self. And then, keeping, making sure that y'all spending time together, spending time as a family, just having that overall balance and growth together. It can be challenging, but it's also like a beautiful challenge too, because, it causes you to really work and really, look within yourself, and, so yeah, I would say that.
I would say it's man, I don't know, I keep doing this, but it's like a garden, right? It's like a garden, man. It's like,
He's right.
It's like you start off, you start the garden off, it's just soil. Sometimes you have to till the soil and lift it up, flip it, cultivate the soil. Once you do that, it's like, that's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, especially the more land you got, so it's a lot of hard work, so it's a lot of hard work, cultivating the earth, and, but once you cultivate the earth, you plant your seeds, you water it. Sometimes you may not have water, then the water comes down, matter of fact, I remember when I first planted a few beds outside, there wasn't no water for about a week, and I'm like, man, this ain't gonna work. And then the rain came down heavy, real heavy. Oh, I didn't have a water hose. My child burst the water. The rain came down heavy, and I really felt that mercy, that love, and I felt so good that what I established out there was getting that nutrients, but we gotta cultivate. We gotta go hard at cultivating our gardens and protecting our gardens. You see weeds coming in, you don't wait till a weed grow as big as it could grow. Sometimes a weed, when it grows that big, it don't already entangle itself, with everything.
I knew someone was gonna say it. I'm sorry.
It don't entangle itself with your plants, and then it strips it from its nutrients, it chokes it out, and you start seeing your plants die. So you have to grab those weeds when they're very small, pull them out your garden as soon as you see them. You don't wait, you don't let them linger. Pull them out your garden as soon as you see them. And then you will train those weeds. Those weeds, you keep pulling them out, they stop coming. Over time, you're like, man, why don't the weeds grow over here? Because they've been pulling them out for the last 50 years. Weeds just don't want to come over there no more. So that's what we have to do in our own marriages. We have to do that. And when we start doing it, next thing you know, you start seeing that little tomato plant come up, and then you put the little wires around it, and it's holding it up strong. That's what we have to do in our own marriage. And then when the fruit comes, the tomato come, and your cabbage comes, and your kale, what else we got out there? Carrots, collard. You start seeing that. It's a beautiful sight. And then you're able to eat from that. You're able to eat from that harvest, Are you able to harvest that? And it's a beautiful thing. And I think that's what we should encourage too in our community too, going back to our own yards and having land and starting to cultivate it, because we'll realize, man, everything takes a lot of work. Especially if it's precious, especially if it's precious, it's gonna take a lot of work, and sometimes it could be a weed, or sometimes it could be a weed, and you may think that weed is bad. You may think that weed is bad. However, that weed may be good for your garden. The weed may be good for your garden. You know, so but you have to know the weed. You have to study the weed. It may be good for you to cook at home. There's plenty of weeds that you can actually eat. So all weeds aren't bad. So you have to know which weeds are good, which weeds are bad. So, and that's the way it is in life, but in marriage as well. There may be things that are new. I didn't plant that here. Where did it come from? You know, but that thing may be cultivating other things in that garden. It may be getting rid of certain bugs that your watermelon plant may need. So there's a lot of lessons in the garden that we could learn from, but that's definitely one, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, the benefits and the down thing. The benefits are, you know, you have a friend for the rest of your life. You know, it's I have sisters, I have brothers, I have cousins, I have uncles. You know, there's a different. That's if you think about it, the whole Adam and Eve image, the idea of God creating the first two people were husband and wife. It wasn't brother and sister. It wasn't cousin and uncle. It was the husband and wife, and from that everything is created. So he's talking about the garden. You know, it's the struggle. It's that whole process. It's like any other. Like they talk about. I think I saw the documentary about what's his name, Michael Jordan. I'm not really into sports, so I'm not gonna know everything. But anyway, Michael Jordan was talking about when Scottie Pippen left, and how it messed up the team because they were so close and they were playing very well and they were winning. And when he left, he had to take on more of the burden than if it wasn't him and Scottie Pippen. This might be a bad example in 2020, but my point is that the man and the woman, when they get together, that's a team, and there's no team like that. There's no team like a husband and wife. And the benefit of that is so, you know, you see people 80 years old and they're walking together, and they're just like two. They're the same. They start looking like each other. That's the human soul, you know, connecting. The hardship for me is, you know, I want another 50 years to be here with my wife. You know what I mean? Physically to see all this, because you want to see where this is gonna go. You know what I'm trying to say? And you know, it's not that cliche thing, but it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like you got your friends. Yeah. I got homeboys, I got friends, I got brothers, I got sisters, but it's a difference with your wife, man. It's like no one knows you like her. You know what I'm trying to say? And you don't, and no one, and she knows you like her, and you know him, you know. And that evolution, it can only happen in marriage. You know what I mean? So that's the thing for me. You know? Okay, so closing this off with your last statements to this question.
Does Black love matter?
I think we answered that.
So to answer the question, does Black love matter? Yes, Black lives matter. It's important. It's the soul of our marriage, and what keeps us going. So that's my answer.
I mean, for me, you know, Black love, you know, this is what drove the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is what drove Marcus Garvey. This is what drove Frederick Douglass. This is what drove us as a people to be here in America. Our love for ourselves, our love for our God, our love to see each other, you know, aspire to things, you know. That love is what the Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, you know, the movement, you know, in Philadelphia, it was the love they wanted to connect. They wanted to love each other. So out of love comes these great things, technology and, you know, everything. It comes out of love. Like you talking about the garden. One of the things I know that, you know, our parents are from the South. So, you know, that's the where we all come from. And they were farmers. Because they were farmers, they were patient. And we had to be patient, you know, to grow our love in our community. So Black love matters, man. Straight up.
Yeah, definitely. It matters, you know, black love, Black family. You know what I mean? It's the root of community life. You know what I mean? Within the family, you know, everyone, you know, the husband's role is defined and established. The woman's roles is defined and established. Then you have the children that come in and they take their role. You know what I mean? And we go out into the society and we we show that, you know what I mean, from our upbringing, you know what I mean. So definitely community life, and starts at the family. It's the pillar with the family, with Black love. So it's critical that you have that Black love and that Black establishment within your family, so that you can share that love with the world. The world needs our love. The world needs our love. So it's very important that you have that representation, that you have those bonds, that you have those roles within your family, so that you can express that to the whole world, because the world is waiting on us.
True.
Yeah, it's I would say too, it's a lot of times we look at our community as a whole and we would say, man, the worst thing that they did was, it was our economic downfall, or was this or was that. No, actually, the worst thing that they could do is cause us to hate each other. When you could cause us to hate each other, and look at the root of where that hate came from, if you look at the root of where that hate came from, what happens is that you won't spend money with each other if you hate the person. You won't marry the person if you hate the person. You won't build businesses. Anytime a person is elected, you look at that person, just hate it. I don't even know why I hate you. I hate you. That's what's happening in our community. So really, we have a lot of things that are attacking us, but we have to get back to loving each other. That's more important. When we talk about, it's a lot of language out there that say generational wealth. It should be more about generational love. If you have generational love and start loving each other, love your family, love your community, love the people in your family, your community, you will have generational wealth. You will have generational wealth. You will have everything that you need. You will have that God and that paradise. You will have that. So yes, I would say New Africa love matters, Yes, Black love, New Africa love matters.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay, so those were all the questions that we had today. So thank you, everyone, for being.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us. It was an honor. Appreciate y'all.
Definitely. Okay, so that's the end of the segment. We tomorrow they sent me the flyer. However, tomorrow, like all days in New Africa August, you log on to our Facebook Live at 6 p.m. We have another dynamic presentation as every day during New Africa August. This is free to our community. There's no charge for it. We're bringing some excellent minds, people who have proven their ways. We're bringing that to our community so that we can appreciate that, love that, and then share it with the rest of our community. So thank you all. Thank Haswaa. Thank the team. Thank Khalid and Naimah. Thank Nashid, Naadiya. I thank my wife, the baby, for being patient.
Thank you.
Everybody. So much love. We'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.
We love you. Peace.
Love ya.
Love.